The medical director of the Matei Balch Institute of Infectious Diseases, Adrian Marinescu, explained on Radio Romania which are the main symptoms of the co-infection that goes by the name of flurona.
Cel mai bun mod în care să-ți dai seama dacă ai flurona, așa cum și la gripă.
The best way to diagnose flurona, just like in the case of flu and COVID, is to get tested for both viruses. In terms of symptoms, if we talk about the flu, people experience muscle ache, joint ache, and headache. Flurona causes a mixture of flu and COVID symptoms which are much more intense. That was Adrian Marinescu. The main protection measure against both viruses is vaccination, experts say. The head of the Hospital of Infectious Diseases in Iași, Florin Roșu, explains.
Facem o continuare aproape între populații de a se imuniza atât împotriva gripei sezoniere cât și a coronavirus.
We urge people to get vaccinated against both seasonal flu and coronavirus. People should contact the family doctor in the first 24 hours since the first symptoms and should go to the infectious diseases hospital no later than 48 to 72 hours since the first symptoms for triage. Self-medication is not recommended and the hygiene measures should be strictly observed. Avoiding crowded places, wearing protection masks and ventilating the rooms at home and at work are a must. That was Florin Roșu. Over the spreading in the United States, the new COVID-19 strain called second has also been reported in Romania, where the number of coronavirus infections is on the increase. Health Minister Alexandru Rafila said that the new COVID-19 strains are more contagious but not more dangerous. Romania's trade deficit is deepening, and Ana Maria Popescu has more on this in a report written by Bogdan Matei. Affected the past 2 years by the consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic and more recently by the aftermath of the war in neighboring Ukraine, Romania's economy continues to suffer. Forecasts for this year remain moderately optimistic, and policymakers have put the state budget on a predicted 2.8% economic growth rate and the budget deficit up nearly 4.4% of GDP. But the bottom line for 2022 is not as encouraging. In the first 11 months of the year, imports were 31 billion euros higher than exports, according to data made public by the National Statistics Institute. This is a record high trade balance deficit, almost 10 billion euros higher than in 2021. According to commentators, this was true even for the automotive industry, where traditionally exports had been higher than imports. According to official data, in the period under review, the largest shares in the structure of exports and imports were reported for vehicles and transport equipment, 41.7% of exports and 32.7% of imports, and other finished goods, 30% of exports and 28.6% of imports. In the first months of 2022, exports exceeded 85.2 billion euros and imports totaled over 116.2 billion euros, pushing the trade deficit to over 45% more than the figure for the corresponding period of the previous year. The increase was in part generated by the very high inflation, which increased the value of imports. But the main cause remains the fact that domestic output is unable to cover domestic demand, even in those sectors where it is so, such as the agri-food, chemical, and automotive industries. Experts argue that the government needs to take immediate action to keep things from worsening. This is what the economic analyst Constantin Rudnitsky told Radio Romania.
Evident ar trebui să existe o politică mai bine structurată și mai bine finanțată.
Obviously, we should have a better structured and better financed policy to promote Romanian exports. On the other hand, I've heard ideas that we should make a very thorough analysis with respect to imports, and the government and the business sector together should try to come up with measures to persuade those companies that import or make these imported products abroad to come to Romania. Romania's international trade remains primarily focused on EU member states, which account for over 72% of the total export market and for around 70% of the import sources. Non-EU trade amounted to 23 billion euros in exports and 34 billion euros in imports. And that wraps up today's newscast on Radio Romania International. Don't forget that you can also follow us online at rri.ro and on Facebook. Next up in this broadcast, coming to you from Bucharest, Radio Romania International, it's Song of the Day. Listen to Folly with the song Crazy Love.
You are listening to Radio Romania International.
Inside Romania.
Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Martin. May the new year bring you joy and lovely moments to you and your family. And in 2022, we thought to provide you with the latest news about projects and events in Romania today we look back at our shows broadcast last year. And we start our roundup with one initiative that combines sports and equality of opportunity. The Kayak Smile Association developed adaptive ski equipment for people with locomotor disabilities that enable them to go smoothly down the ski slopes. Jonas Stankovic, the president of the Kayak Smile Association, told us how it all began.
Noi am făcut clubul, asociația Smile pentru
We created the Kayak Smile Association in order to promote more kayak slalom as a competitive sport. Working with children, I remembered seeing a video a few years back about a person with disabilities from the United States who said he loved rowing. He was saying it's the only sport where he feels he's just like everybody else, because in rowing we really use the upper body. So we started working with people with disabilities, and they all said the experience was great and became regular members of the club. Then winter came and the season of winter sports. The disabled members of our club wanted to continue doing sports over the winter, and we started to look into ways of making it possible for them to ski. The adaptive equipment on the market was very expensive, and we couldn't afford it, so we used a normal wheelchair instead, removed its wheels and attached it to skis. Jonas Stankovic. Switching registers, a book club addressing women dubbed Mujeres Libres started its activity in March in 2020, bringing together women from all walks of life, gathered around books. Here is what one participant, Lavia Popescu, told us about the project of the book club. It is a reading club proper. We get together to discuss books, as a book doesn't end once you've finished reading all its pages. It has a life of its own through the discussions it stirs. That is how you feel you honor its author for all that they offered. You want to discuss what you felt with the others. It could be the pleasure of the text, the tenderness of the story, or the self-discovery experience you had. When you read a book, you feel you are not alone. You feel you also want to share with the others what you felt, and especially you want to find out from the others what they felt. That is exactly the reason why this reading club was necessary. It is just as natural for us to feel inclined to be part of a community capable of providing a secure space where you can express yourself, and especially a space you can be part of. That is exactly why we have this group of women, which is a support group, and every time we meet, we really get our kicks out of listening to each other. Lavia Popescu. In October, President Klaus Iohannis ratified the law whereby peony was declared a national flower of Romania. Every year, on May 15th, the community of the Romanian peony celebrates Romanian Peony Day. Professor and Romanian Academy member Florin Stănică told us more.
Din 2013, colegul nostru, profesorul Florin Nova, titularul
In 2013, our colleague from the Floriculture Department, Professor Florin Toma, proposed that the Days of Romanian Horticulture, an event worth hosting every May, that the peony becomes the national flower of Romania. Our colleague put forward about 10 arguments to back his proposal. One is that Romania is home to 5 indigenous species of peony that are growing in the world and in Romanian forests across the country, from the Black Sea coast in Dobrogea to Banat in Oltenia, southern Moldavia, Ardeal, and even in Fort County. These flowers come into bloom in the second part of May and are very beautiful. They cover entire meadows in places such as Zona Câmpie, where we find the steep peony, as well as in forests where they grow all over the forest. There are even local festivals and celebrations dedicated to these wonderful flowers. Florin Stănică. And although winter is upon us, in November we talked about an original initiative, making ice cream in barrels, a special recipe we discussed with Adrian Mendes, the creator of this brand.
a fost foarte greu pentru că nu stăpâneam tainele înghețate la cutoi. Am alergat prin...
It was very hard because I didn't master the secret behind barrel ice cream. I wandered about Romanian villages looking for recipes and their stories, but we got turned down, and so from one day to the next, we ended up talking to Ion, a man from Malta who knew the secret about making ice cream in barrels. He was actually upset his own son wouldn't carry over the family tradition. He actually told us, "Dad, look, there's this stranger at our door, and I'm gonna tell him everything you don't." We attended all 3 editions of Man on Matasai Festival, but this was the first time we made live ice cream demos. As a rule, we come with ready-made ice cream, but organizers asked us to make the ice cream on the spot. We agreed, and I must admit, were very well received. We didn't expect to have such great sales on an October day, Adrian Mengish told us. And that concludes our roundup of the best moments in our show in 2022. Tune in again next year for more surprising stories. This is Radio Romania International. Cultural event.
Welcome to Cultural Event with me, Lacamera Sion. Today I'll be talking about 4 exhibitions mounted at Romania's National Museum of Contemporary Art. The National Museum of Contemporary Art of Romania announced in December the opening of the new exhibition season at its headquarters in the Parliament Palace. An exhibition arranged on the 4 floors of the museum invites the public to discover new trends in contemporary art. It wants the National Museum of Contemporary Art to keep an active role in the long social and cultural recovery that society needs so much. The organizers, in the opening of the new exhibition season, which anticipates an unprecedented foray into contemporary art, we spoke with the artist Călin Dan, the director of the institution, about the newest exhibitions open at the National Museum of Contemporary Art of Romania.
Este primul vernissaj ca pe vremuri, sau așa ne dorim.
It was the first opening similar to those of the pre-pandemic times, or at least that's how we wanted it. The first real exhibition opening since 2019. As we have announced, there are 10 events organized at the National Museum of Contemporary Art. And I will start with what we have organized on the ground floor of the museum, where we have 2 outstanding solo exhibitions. One of them is the photography exhibition of a young artist, Dani Gherca, an artist currently considered one of the most interesting photographers in Romania, and about whom we will hear a lot more in the future. In the Marble Hall, you can see an installation by Dorina Horătou, an expert in the plastic instrumentation of natural elements. Dorina Horătou is an artist who makes a combination between textile, medium, and natural vegetal elements. The installation she made also includes electronics, digital sound elements, and many others. On the first floor of the museum, we arranged a kind of extension of the last 2 seasons, organized at the National Museum of Contemporary Art. We have a retrospective dedicated to Ion Grigorescu, a unique event, and I invite the public to take advantage of this opportunity. Ion Grigorescu is an extremely complex artist working in all possible mediums, making avant-garde art, but also religious art. He is probably the most important living visual artist of the moment in Romania. On the 2nd floor, there is an exhibition from the museum's permanent portfolio, the Leviathan exhibition, a very special museum experiment. It's an exhibition organized in the museum's warehouses and therefore a unique offer to visitors to see places where they usually don't go, and artworks that we don't normally exhibit, said Călin Dan, the director of the National Museum of Contemporary Art. The surprise of the new season at the National Museum of Contemporary Art is the Ștefan Câția retrospective. An exhibition that offers a new, unexpected image of this established painter, now also present with his exceptional graphic work. On display are also the 400 portraits created by the artist Vasile Mureșanu Rivado, as well as a site-specific installation, painting and drawing by the artist Ana Maria Lucu, and it's also a cultural event.
Next in this program, sports. Welcome to the Athlete of the Week with me, Eugen Luston. Attention grabbing these days is the Australian Open tennis tournament in Melbourne, an event bringing together the world's elite tennis players. Tournaments are on the way on the continent, but also nearby in Tasmania or New Zealand. Romania's best tennis players have also registered for the tennis tournament in Australia, and their run so far has been excellent. For instance, Irina Beg last week reached this far the semi-finals of the WTA 500 Adelaide International One tournament, an event with more than $825,000 in prize money. Reason enough for Radio Romania International to designate Irina Begu the Athlete of the Week. In Adelaide, in the first round, Irina outclassed US opponent Shelby Rogers 3-6, 7-6, 6-1. It was Irina's debut match for 2023. Then in the round of 16, Irina Begu crushed 7th-seeded player in Adelaide, Latvian challenger Jelena Ostapenko, 6-3, 6-0. In the quarterfinals, Begu defeated 4th-seeded tennis player Russia's Veronika Kudermetova, 7-5, 6-4, after more than 2 hours of play. However, in the semi-finals, Begu was overpowered by Arina Sabalenka of Belarus, 3-6, 2-6. With an excellent run in Adelaide, Irina was rewarded with $43,323 and 185 WTA points. Sabalenka eventually won the tournament, grabbing a 3-6, 7-6 win against Czech challenger Linda Moskova. Irina Camelia Begu was born in Bucharest on August 26, 1990. Throughout her career, she won 5 WTA tournaments in women's singles, in Tashkent in 2012, then in Seoul in 2015, in Florianopolis in 2016, in Bucharest in 2017, and in Palermo in 2022. In the women's doubles, Irina Begu won 9 tournaments. In 2012, she won the tournament in Hobart, pairing up with Monica Niculescu. In Sertogenbosch in 2013, she paired up with Annabel Medina Garrigues. In Rio de Janeiro in 2014, Irina paired up with Marina Irigoyen, then in Seoul, also in 2014, with Lara Arruabarrena, and in Bucharest in 2017, jointly with Raluca Olavi. Also in 2017, Irina Camelia Begu won the tournament in Tianjin, pairing up with Sara Errani. In 2018, Irina Begu won the tournament in Shenzhen, jointly with Simona Halep, and again in Bucharest, this time in the company of Andrea Mitu. And that's all from Sports Today. You can also access our sports items at rra.ro and on Facebook. You are listening to Radio Romania International.
Next in this program is Free Romanian. I'm your host, Elena Enache. Today's edition features Alexandru Mica, a renowned professor, folk vocalist, writer, and diplomat. Let's listen to him next with a song entitled Around the Villages.
Ai florica din neciulești, mai am una nouă de face pe mie sărata, e casă-ți e noastră. Ai una flopit de vitești, nu iubește când poftești. Ai mai am una la cultui, alințături de cucui, acum eu-i să-mi scârbi, negră încă mi-o răpui. Una merg și-am aici, una mi-e cercat aici, pereștele știi, iarele. să-l zăpește. Odată cine iubește, că nimic nu-i priește și ce vrea nu-i folosește, tot la dragoste gândește. Păi cine în lume nu iubește, la părcat ce povestește. Păi cine nu iubește în lume, pomir la părcat se pune. Una lichi și niciun, ca să-și petreacă la drum. Lelelele și iarelele. De trei spice, nu mai e nicio ferice, două bucui bănice, că el multă grijă duce, multă are, să mire cum se strecoare până la Marița de Văle. E frumoasă Gotovina, dar nici eu nu sunt urât, sunt frumos adimărit. Lelele și iarele.
Alexandra Mika studied Japanese and Korean, and in 1969 he graduated from the Foreign Languages Faculty in Berlin. He later discovered his passion for music and writing and proved to be very talented at both. Let's listen to him again with a love song. We continue truly Romanian with yet another song performed by Alexandra Mika entitled Catch Me. We end Simply for today with one last song performed by Alessandro Mica entitled The Cure.
Living Romania.
Coming up next in the program, new names on the cover. Welcome to a new edition of our New Names on the Cover series. I'm Eugen Moscow. 2022 was a difficult, complex year on the planet. Among other things, 2022 provided a time of reckoning for us all. Well-established, famous and top-flight Romanian authors passed away. Nonetheless, early into 2023, quality international literary events have been staged aimed at strengthening cultural cooperation between countries and making known the work of deserving young authors. The Romanian Cultural Institute in Paris on January the 16th, 2023 will stage the Romanian-French colloquium themed Romania France, the bookshow circuit, jointly carried with the Romanian Embassy in France in a bid to mark the Romanian Culture Day and the 3 decades since Romania has gained admission to be a member of the International Francophonie Day. The colloquium will bring together more than 20 professionals of the editorial world. Translators of Romanian literature will meet French publishers and retail booksellers, representatives of Senac and such like. It is a day totally dedicated to Romanian literature, to the promotion of the literary heritage and the profession of translator. In the final hours of the year 2022, Serbian Vlah poet and translator Adam Puslovic passed away at the age of 79. Puslovic's connections with the Romanian poetry were very deep. He was born on March the 11th, 1943, in a Romanian village in the Timok River Valley. His ancestor's real name was Soy. Adam Puslovic's debut occurred in the early 1960s, when he tried his hand as translator of critically acclaimed Romanian poet Nici Stănescu, who would later become one of his closest friends. We recall Nici Stănescu's volume titled Belgrade and 5 Friends was partially dedicated to Puslovic. He made his debut as a poet in 1976. In 1969, he got a volume published of Marin Sorescu's poems translated into Serbian. In 5 decades, Puslovic published 16 volumes of poetry and several anthologies, pointing to a very spectacular stylistic progress and owing a lot to the modern Romanian poetic tradition.
You are listening to Radio Romania International.
You're at Radio Romania International. I'm Eugen Nasta, with new names on the cover. Among other things, Puslovic was the active promoter of an avant-garde trend, as well as the Romanian-Serbian cultural relations, since he was a very well-established translator from Romanian literature. He was also a spectacular presence, a charismatic character, with a lyrical prophet's beard and gestures. Adam Puslovic was one of the last representatives of the golden generation, a creator of lyrical mythology. Dumitru Radu Popescu was born on August 19, 1935 in Polsha, Bihor County, in the northwest. He went to high school in the town of Oradea, the county seat of Bihor. Dumitru Radu Popescu went on to pursue medical study programs for 3 years in Cluj, but he eventually took up the study of philology, completing a program with the philology faculty in Cluj, a program he graduated from in 1961. Dumitru Radu Popescu was the secretary of the Writers Association in Cluj and president of the Romanian Writers Union. A prolific author, he made his debut in 1956 with poems published by the Oradea-based Crișeanu magazine. Dumitru Radu Popescu had regularly contributed prose to the Steaua, the Star literary magazine in Cluj, but also to other publications such as Tribuna, the Tribune, Contemporanul, the Contemporary, or România Literară, Literary Romania. In 1958, Dumitru Radu Popescu published his first volume of prose. Dumitru Radu Popescu also wrote several other volumes of short fiction, a great number of novels, plays, essays, poetry, and film screenplays. He was elected a corresponding member of the Romanian Academy in 1997. In 2007, he became a full member of the Romanian Academy. Dumitru Radu Popescu's best-known and most popular novel is The Royal Chase. On January the 2nd, 2023, Momitula Popescu passed away at the age of 87. The Sentimental Twilight magazine will be staging the 21st edition of a literary creation contest themed The Summer of My Dreams, jointly with the Morning Star Literary Circle in Giurgiu, southern Romania. The contest seeks to support and promote the creators of poetry, plays, essays from Romania and the diaspora, from the non-members of the Romanian Writers' Union. There is no age limit for participants. Authors can participate in one of the several literary genres. The deadline for the submission of manuscripts is January the 31st, 2023. The 33rd edition of the Mihai Eminescu International Literature Festival will be held in the town of Drobeta Turnu Severin, southwestern Romania, over January the 11th and the 13th. The judging panel is made of Honorary President, Academician Mihai Cimpoi, Academician Gheorghe Păun, Professor Dr. Zenodie Cârlugea, Professor Dr. Tudor Nedelcea, who is also the Executive President and the Director of the Festival, and Professor Dr. Florian Popcea. The Panay Strati Brăila County Library in the Southeast has extended the participation invitation for the 3rd edition of the Literary Fantasies National Creative Writing Project to be held over October 2022 and June 2023. The project seeks to identify, encourage and put to good use the imaginative and creative potential of pupils aged 13 to 19 in the field of short fiction. The submitted works will be original literary texts composed as part of creative writing workshops, staged in libraries and coordinated by librarians. When the project is completed, 2 honorary mentions will be awarded, as well as the 3rd, the 2nd and the 1st prize, awarded according to the number of points for each and every text. The works will be assessed by a specialized judging panel. The texts selected by the members of the judging panel will be published in an anthology to be brought out by Proilavia, the publishing house of Brăila County's Panayiti Strati Library. The volumes will be distributed to partner libraries and to the authors of the literary texts. On Tuesday, January the 10th, 2023, beginning 3 p.m., in an event hosted by the New Europe College in Bucharest, a debate will be held, generated by the volume The Panorama of Post-Communism in Romania, edited by Liliana Korobka. The volume has been recently brought out by the Polyrom publishers in Bucharest. The opening address comes from the rector of the New Europe College, Valentina Santu Dediu. Guest speakers include Cristian Preda, Dean, Faculty of Political Sciences, the University of Bucharest, and the President of the Institute for the Investigation of Communism Crimes and the Memory of Romanian Exile, Daniel Șandru. Some of the authors will also be taking part in the event. Among them, Liliana Korobka, who is also the moderator, Ruxandra Ivan, Dorica Boltașu, Raluca Oancea, Augustin Ioan, Cosmin Năsui, Cristian Vasile. That's all we have time for in this week's New Names on the Cover. I am Eugen Nasta in Bucharest for Radio Romania International Studios. Bye for now. Focus on Romania. Coming up next on Radio Romania International,
next in this program is Simply Folk. Listen to the late vocalist Romica Puceanu with a song entitled Sharaman.
dormi, nici pe alta ai iubit.
And with that, our broadcast in English for listeners in North America, the East Coast, has come to an end. You can listen to our next program for North America, the East Coast, at 21:30 hours UTC on 7310 and 9430 kilohertz, as well as on the internet at rri.ro channel 1. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write or email at engl@rri.ro. Goodbye.
Bucarest, Radio Roumanie Internationale. Mesdames et messieurs, l'équipe de la section française de Radio Roumanie Internationale